right, so let's talk about medical missionary work. So when we go to a new place, so we'll study Daniel chapter 2 and the medical missionary work. I was, while during the prayer, I was thinking of a subject, but I just changed my subject during the prayer. I said, oh, I think this is something that we had to share. Okay. Medical missionary work. How many of you heard about that word? Good. Yeah, we're doing it. Medical missionary work. This is what we do when we go to that thing, huh? But we will study first the book of Daniel. Okay, let's do the recording. So we had something to show on the weekdays. Let's do first study Daniel chapter 2, and then we'll move into the medical missionary work. Because Daniel did the medical missionary work in Babylon. So, Daniel chapter 2. So, this is our last presentation of Daniel 2, and then we move to chapter 3 the next time. Daniel chapter 2, in verse 48. So, Daniel chapter 2 and verse 48. You know the story of Daniel chapter 2. You have the sequence of the kings and kingdoms, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and then God's kingdom. That's no doubt. We know the story. We got the head of gold, silver, bronze, and the leg of iron, and the feet of clay, and then a stone struck, and then the whole image disappear, and the stone becomes a big mountain, and it is the kingdom of God. So it is a story, a history from the time of Daniel until the coming of Jesus. That's the book of Daniel chapter 2. So Daniel in Babylon, together with his three friends, four of them and his three friends, in verse 48, after he interpreted the dream of the king. So, in my opinion, the king did not forget his dream, but it was just too scary to tell to this wise man, because the penalty of his dream is death. So, in the pagan world, to dream of a human being is punishable by death, because the gods no longer needed your services. The gods no longer needed you. You should go down into the grave. That's why when also Jesus, the story of Lazarus, that if you can dip your finger and drop into my tongue because it's so hot here. So the finger and the tongue, so this part of the imagery of the story. So body parts is punishable by death in the pagan world in the old days. So that's why Nebuchadnezzar said, I don't want to say it. I want you, the wise man, and if you cannot tell me, I will give you a death penalty. Because instead him, it's them. He like to wipe the mud to his wise man. So why the wise man goes for a death penalty? For a dream that he forget? No, a dream that he refused to remember, because it's punishable by death. He wants the wise man, and so Daniel become part of it. And Daniel said, let us go to the king, but let's do a medical missionary work. Medical missionary work. After Daniel has done the interpretation, this is the king's reply. In verse 48, then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Now, what do you understand from that verse? How influential is a small group of people or a person? Very influential. So if we as an Ebenezer group, we could be a very influential individual in a society. So when we bring our church to build a church there, we become a very influential in a society. By doing it is through medical missionary work. Now, the context, the place where Daniel were and his friends is Babylon. Now, today's application, where are we?
Babylon.
We are in Babylon. Yeah. So the armies of Babylon now surrounding us on a surveillance. You had to QR every time you do things. Yeah? It's a surveillance. The same as Daniel. But you see, Daniel was spared because of the medical missionary work. You see, in Babylon, Daniel becomes a great man because of his work. Because of his work. He was promoted, and before promotion there was an education. Remember, he was educated in Babylon. But he did not receive the sciences of Babylon, but he received the science of the Bible. You see, the science of the Bible and the science of Babylon are two different sciences altogether. So Daniel was using the science of the Bible. And also Daniel became a great man in Babylon because of his influence. He was a very influential person in Babylon. Not only that he interpreted the dream of the king, but as well as becoming the chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Now, what is Babylon? So, it's a big city, but a city of confusion. And today, in our environment, is the city of confusion. So, what is trending now in our society? So, America has only a 7.1% of population of the LGBTQ community, but they're very influential. Very influential. Very strong advocates. And it can turn society the way they wanted it. And we are all now, maybe in the near future, become compliant to what they want us to do. And you can tell even today, there are many factories and companies are closing, but if you comply with their requirements, you will survive or you will thrive. So the massive closing of companies and collapses because it is a setting up of something to stand. One will not stand when the existing is still standing. They must collapse this one first so that they can put a one to stand. Now in Babylon, the king made a big reset in his kingdom. His wise men failed to give him the interpretation he needed. And so when Daniel comes up, he reset the whole country, the whole nation, the whole Babylon reset. The great reset happens in Babylon. The order of life is no longer the way I want it, but the order of life now is the man called Daniel now. It is now Daniel who will now govern Babylon. It's now Daniel who will rule Babylon. It's no longer me, but it is now Daniel, the chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Now, how do you feel if that would be the case? Do you think there's a bit of a competition, a bit of anger from amongst the other? Can you imagine a stranger, a foreigner, becoming our leader, not one of us, not a citizen of this country, now ruling us? the same animosity that we will be facing in the future. But Daniel survived because of the medical missionary work. It is the wise men of Babylon demand Daniel because of his work. You see, when the people will demand our existence, we can't go wrong. So in the early pioneering years of Seventh-day Adventism, when Ellen G. White begins to establish schools, it is the demand of the community. And because it is the hub of the people that needs help, they were protected from all the other accusations that surrounds them. Because it is the people that demands their existence. Then Daniel in verse 49, then Daniel requested of the king, and he said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You see now this is more painful to the Babylonians. Not only that Daniel, but how come Daniel did not choose me? I'm a Babylonian by citizen. Why he chooses his mob, his group? Why his friends are here now? What will happen to us? Are they taking our jobs now and we're losing our jobs? Isn't it the Babylon language today? Isn't it? How come there's too many fellows coming to Australia, too many other nations coming to Australia?
The AI will take the jobs.
And the AI will take over our jobs. What are we going to do now? You see? So the animosity, the complaint, the feedback of the people, not in a very constructive way, but very destructive way. Because when you go to chapter 3, you know what happened to Babylon is in a revenge. So chapter 3 is a destructive chapter to the medical missionary work of Daniel and his friends. So in the last days, in our time today, we will face a harsh persecution because we will be doing a medical missionary work, but the community will help us spread the gospel. Don't close down them because they are our hub. They are our service provider. We become a service provider, just like Daniel and his friends. And so, in Daniel chapter 2, what we learned is not only the sequence of events of the time of kings and kingdoms, the rise and fall of them until Jesus comes, but also looking at Daniel, the man of God. So one day, you and I, we become, instead of the people of God, we become the, put your name on it, the Daniel of God. We become the person, you put your name on it. Instead of the people of God, instead of the people, you replace it with your own name. This is what happened to Daniel, the Daniel of God. So in the beginning, the king was so pleased with the God of Daniel. But after the demonstration of Daniel's medical ministry, it's no longer Nebuchadnezzar looking for the God of Daniel, but now is the Daniel of God. You see the twist of the story? You see, in the beginning, King Nebuchadnezzar confesses the God of Daniel is a true God. But after the incident, when Daniel performed the medical missionary work, Nebuchadnezzar no longer looking for the God of Daniel, but the Daniel of God. That's sweet, isn't it? That's beautiful. You become, I become the person of God. Medical missionary work. What is involved in the medical missionary work? Can we be medical students to do the medical work? No. Even mechanic can become a medical missionary work. Even a mechanic.
Yes.
Yeah.
No lines.
Yeah. There's no lines. Everybody can do medical missionary work. So medical missionary work is the gift that God has for you. So, for example, you can do building pergola. Now we can use that to the community in fixing up their damaged home. You see, we fix their pergolas, no charge. Maybe you can do in cooking. You cook, you pack the food, you give to them, or either you bring it to them or they come to us. In either way. Now, can you do cleaning? Then we clean their place and free of charge. Medical missionary work. So, any fields that we can do any missionary work. And above all, if say we had a piece of land and we can plant our tomato or cucumber, whatever we can do, then we can bring it to the community and we become the hub when there is a shortage of food. So there are many things, especially planting potato. Potato is very easy to plant. It can grow anything. Even just you throw in the backyard, it will grow. Like tomato, you just throw, it will grow. You see? And plus, the God of heaven will look after what we have planted because it is for medical missionary work. God will grow banana even in a winter place. See, He can do everything. Nothing is impossible with God. You know, I've seen some bananas here in Victoria. They're having a good. You have, yeah. You see, it grows. There's mango here growing in a. There's a coffee tree grow here in Victoria. See, there is any tropical fruit can grow here now here. So yeah, I had my guava. Maybe it's as big as this now. The tree, yeah, it's a guava. It's in the middle of my backyard. The big green one. Yeah, the big green one. The tree is as big this one now. Yeah, so it grows, and I thought I got avocado. It's fruiting, but my beautiful neighbors, they keep eating them when they were young. I got plenty of possums in my place. They love it. But okay, I told them, you enjoy because it's your turn. Once I will cover it, it's not yours any longer, it's mine. So now it's not yet covered, you enjoy the fruit in my backyard. But once we close it, possums, I'm sorry, it's not yours anymore. You see, so they are growing in my backyard. I got 2 mango trees, 1 guava, and 2 avocado. Oh, persimmon, lychees. It grows whatever we plant in the backyard. Only the bananas I didn't plant. But we can plant banana. Yeah. So medical missionary work is the work in the future that we will be engaging in. So when we do some planning today, is we will be focusing on that area, so that just like in the time of Daniel, we will diversify now our way of ministry. Because after the post-pandemic is no longer the same as usual, as normal as in the past. So we will accommodate what is now, how do you call it, adaptive to the environment where we are in. Well, we can no longer live the same as we are in the past, because now it is a new normal. Now we are now in the new normal. So in our way of doing things, especially when we build this church, it would be set on a medical missionary work. So maybe some of us are nurses as well. Some of us knows how to do poultice, how to do any line of medical, the healing wonders of water, the healing wonders of herbs, whatever that we can use to help the need of the community. So that's the essence of chapter 2 of Daniel. Daniel then becomes a person in the city of Babylon, in which the king gave him a lot of authorities, a heavy authority, chief of the governors, over all the wise men of Babylon, also many gifts that he received from the king, and above all, he becomes the Daniel of God through that medical missionary work.